Hey, welcome back to the stash. The Amazing Spider-Man comics is in a pretty weird place at the moment. You've got Peter Parker, still being Spider-Man, but stuck in the vastness of the cosmos, teaming up with a group of misfits. So, basically Guardians of the Galaxy, and back down on Earth you have Norman Osborn, one of, if not the best Spider-Man villain. The man who killed Gwen Stacy, who killed Ben Reilly, who scarred an entire fan base, who forever damaged his son and, also got with his girlfriend, who's killed many innocents and wreaked havoc upon New York countless of times. Well, thanks to his, sins being cleansed, he's currently the Amazing Spider-Man on Earth. Some would say he's beyond redemption, but I guess not Marvel. Anyway, this has meant that the Amazing Spider-Man title is now split between two Spider-Men, and so one of the two releases each month is focused purely on either Peter or Norman. But hey, real quick, here at the Stash, we're swinging for 20,000 subscribers by the end of the month. Now that's a tall order, I know, but with great power comes great responsibility, and all you gotta do is click subscribe. So if you're into Spider-Man or just comic book deep dives, feel free to stick around. But with all that being said, let's get right back into the video. Now, if I'm being honest here, Peter's side of the book, in my opinion, is easily better. I've had far more fun reading that than the Earth portion. I believe it's because Joe Kelly actually seems more interested in telling a sci-fi adventure. That or because, it's the side that actually focuses on Spider-Man. I mean, the Green Goblin section of the book could literally just be Norman as the Gold Goblin, and it would change nothing. In fact, it might work better. Not to mention how there's less baggage involved with the space story. Joe Kelly doesn't need to know a whole lot to write it, in a sense, so the writing doesn't seem out of place or like it's missing anything. Whereas on Norman's side, I seriously question whether Kelly has read any of the Clone Saga given how Norman and Ben interact here. I never really feel a sense of, oh, these two clearly have their own personal history, beyond that of one of them being the Green Goblin. I mean, Norman killed Ben Reilly. I think that's something that should, at the very least be mentioned within the story, or even better, be a theme from the start. But it's not uncommon for Brand New Day writers to not do research. In fact, since One More Day, I think Spencer was the only writer to really feel like he had a good understanding and overall knowledge of the comics. I just really hope that as this story continues, because we are about, I think, halfway through maybe, just judging by Comic Geeks, I really hope that Joe Kelly actually pays more attention to that and at least acknowledges it. Anyway, it just feels like the Earth side of the book is so far severely lacking for me. Sure, we get some pretty decent Norman Osborn in a monologue, but besides that, it all feels pretty hollow, and I'm not looking forward to how the story eventually concludes, to be honest. In fact, The Amazing Spider-Man to me now feels like a monthly title because I simply just don't care enough about Spider-Norman. I wonder if it would have worked better if it was just its own thing, if the Norman plot was presented as a companion book. I think overall it might do the series better because this constant back and forth is all around pretty draining when only one half of it is somewhat interesting. Also, online I saw some rumors that Aunt May might even have another battle with cancer, and that this scene was hinting towards it. Now, like I said over on X, or Twitter, or whatever, while the theme of Kelly's run just being a complete rehash of previous storylines does suck, I wouldn't be mad if this was a story he brought back, but only if it ends with Spider-Man comics finally letting go of Aunt May. Because, let's be real here, she should have died decades ago. I'm talking before this millennium even started. I think The Amazing Spider-Man issue 400 was such a great send-off for her. It was even one of my favorite issues of the Clone Saga, but for some reason Marvel just can't seem to let her go. Hell, even Alfred is dead. I don't understand why Aunt May can't die. She holds the book back so much, and no matter how hard editorial and Nick Lowe try to give the illusion of growth within the comic, Aunt May being there will always be a painful reminder of everything wrong with Spider-Man comics. I think One More Day could have been an actual great turning point for ASM had it been about Aunt May sacrificing herself for Mary Jane instead. All it needed was one crucial switch to mark a real milestone for the character when it comes to evolving and moving on. So while I doubt she'll pass, or that she's even sick, I still see Aunt May as a real issue within these comics and something that the Spidey office needs to just get away from. But so yeah, overall Norman's side of the book doesn't interest me a whole bunch, and it's a real shame. I think there's some potential in the premise, but I just don't believe Kelly is or will ever capture said potential. Right now, The only thing that stood out to me is the inner conflict. Norman's mental demons have always been a major thing for him, and I'm glad Kelly seems to understand how complex his mind is. Plus, the inner thoughts finally allow for Peter to be praised for once in this comic. The little detail too of his narration boxes looking like parts of his journal is such a neat touch. I'm happy that Roderick Kingsley, the Hobgoblin, is still getting time in the spotlight. Hobgoblin is easily one of my favorite villains thanks to the 80s, and I think so far what we've seen has been okay. He's joined this group, and it honestly kind of feels like he's turned a bit into like Deathstroke from the original New Teen Titans run. He's starting to get involved once more, and I'm hoping that this book can give him some more relevance again, because genuinely his original stories were just so good. Speaking of good, when Norman feels kind of weak within the story at times, Ben Reilly has a somewhat interesting side plot going on. He's taken over Peter's life essentially, and with it he's actually killing it at Rand Industries. No, not that one. It's nice seeing Ben back in focus for once, even if it's still, you know, him technically being Chasm, but I hope soon we can maybe have Ben back to normal. Also, it's just really funny how the Spidey office is just allergic to happy relationships. Like, why does every relationship they touch always have to argue? Not really sure what to expect moving forward though. Either way, I just hope Kelly can make it enjoyable, because so far with my experience, it just hasn't been doing it for me. Okay, so Peter's half of the book has actually been quite fun in my opinion to read. It's completely shaken up the book in a way that I think this title needed. Peter's time on Earth for ages now has been nothing short of depressing, and so I view his time away as like a healthy reset for him, even if it's because he almost died. The energy of this portion of the book though is completely different. I think it's for the better. It's way more vibrant and fast paced, and overall just more chaotic, but in a good way. Maybe it's helped a lot by Pepe Larraz's artwork though, because my god is he killing it on ASM. Just even with the evolution of the work too. I wasn't a fan of his Peter Parker design on the first issue of this run, but the way he's just evolved it to this is nothing short of amazing. When he's on pencils, you just know you're in for a treat visually. He's really honed in on his skills and has easily become a well-deserved fan favorite for Spider-Man readers of the modern day. I only hope Marvel keeps him on the book for as long as possible, because he genuinely adds so much to the overall enjoyment. But as a whole, I do think it's mostly a fun read, and that's a rarity for this title. I think as the couple issues of Space Peter have properly settled in, I've come to appreciate them more. I like how in Space Peter all of a sudden fights like Spider-Man again. He's able to take down almost anyone with flair and efficiency. I know it's probably because he's gotten way stronger and plans to get even more powerful, but it's so refreshing to see Spider-Man take control and really show what he's got. The team's dynamic so far has been fine, I guess. They've each got their own unique personality for the most part, and the main enjoyment from that comes with how they interact with Peter himself. Spidey's got to really grab a hold of them, and I really like the way he never truly loses himself amongst all this insanity and actively fights for what he believes in. Sure, sometimes it comes off as a little too overdone, and it definitely did drag on in some parts of the comic, but I'd rather it be overdone than having a Peter who doesn't feel like Peter, I guess. I enjoy seeing the more determined Spider-Man 2, and I'm genuinely a fair bit excited for the eventual round 2 between Spider-Man and Hellgate. Even if it's not necessarily, you know, great or a story that will be hailed as years go by, it's still nice to have something to build towards in the present day. All in all though, Peter's cosmic side of the book has been my favourite out of the two. It's got some real nice vibrancy to it, and a cast of characters and settings that is very out there, but if anything is a nice change of pace. And as the story continues and we eventually finish this arc, I just hope it's entertaining. But so like I said at the start of the video, Spider-Man comics are right now in a pretty weird state. Some of it's good, some of it's mediocre, and some of it's simply bad. And I think that's the problem with Joe Kelly's amazing Spider-Man comics. It never seems like it's able to really grab a hold of what it's trying to do. There's always some elements that are positive, but then it's bogged down by the negative. I'd simply just prefer if there was more consistency, whether it's completely separating the Earth and cosmic stories and making them different comics, or even just honing in on the potential that's clearly there. It's annoying too because it could just easily be left untapped if Kelly isn't up to the task. At the end of the day though, I don't think this run is as good as some people make it out to be, but at the same time, I don't think it's as bad as others say it is. In my opinion, it's okay at best, with some pretty good moments every now and then. Now I know it's pretty boring to be in the middle, and how that's nothing amazing and a few good parts don't equate to something worth constant praise, but right now to me, it's just a comic that's kinda decent. And whether it rises to become something better or falls flat on its face is something only time will tell. But for now, it'll continue to be the problem of Joe Kelly's amazing Spider-Man.